Coming up on the show tonight, Offside takes you to the heart of provincial rugby. We meet a young man at the top of his game. And can Cantabrians break a world record? Stay tuned for all this and more. G'day and welcome to our first episode of Offside. I'm Barnaby Clark.
And I'm Russell Maloney.
We're students from the New Zealand Broadcasting School, and each week we'll come to you from a sporting location around Christchurch.
Tonight we're broadcasting from the Addington Raceway stables, so if you see a whip or hear a nay-nay, don't worry, it's not Silent Hill!
Right.
Okay, moving on. The All Blacks announced their team this morning to play Tonga, with Richie McAwesome sitting this one out with a bruised thigh, and Kieran Reid taking over the reins as captain.
Wasaki Nahola will start after an injury scare during the week, while Mehi Nildaskada will get another chance to impress, taking up right wing.
Ma'anoni will play his 100th test as he runs on to St James Park at 8 AM on Saturday. He's hoping Shag can dip into his bag of tricks.
But the game of the week might come in the form of Golden Red, as Wales take on Australia in a pool of death match this Sunday morning.
To cricket now, and New Zealand A has beaten Sri Lanka A in a thriller at Hagley Oval yesterday. New Zealand leads the three-match series 2-0, with the final game to be played at Lincoln on Saturday.
So if you feel like a day out in the sun this Saturday, get down to the Burt Sutcliffe Oval in Lincoln and support the boys. Boys! First up, it's a contact sport with big hits, an oval ball, forward passes, and no, it's not the French rugby team. Reporter Sam Pickering went along to check out American football in Canterbury.
American football in Canterbury is on the rise. This year will be the 5th year of the sport since starting up in 2010.
We're growing with fives, 3 teams this year, 2 last year. We're getting to the stage where we're going to start looking at moving to 7-a-side, which is a lot more technical, a lot closer to what regular football is.
It's not just adults who are being targeted.
We've also seen some kids, we're running sessions before our trainings on Saturday mornings. We're getting a few kids down to that as well, which is awesome, like just getting more people we can get involved, the better.
You might be thinking, if you play rugby, it'll be an easy switch over. Think again.
The rules are completely different. It's a completely different code. You know, it's different movements, different functions. There's so much more to learn. You know, the plays. It's pretty much, you know, it's going from rugby with picking up the ball and running to playing a game of chess.
Remind you of anyone recently?
Jared Haynes all over the news, eh? Go Jared Haynes. And it's something the Kiwis are looking at and going, I want to do that, can I? And now we can.
The season kicks off on October 31st, but there's another event which comes before.
An annual draft on the October 16th, so all the players get chucked into the draft lottery just like the NFL. It'll be a big, big fundraiser, and it'll be a bit of fun, so get everyone pumped for the season.
Sam Pickering, Offside.
Rugby is part of New Zealand's staple diet when it comes to sport. In this week's feature piece, Ruben Mama heads down to Ashburton to catch up with the Mid-Canterbury rugby team.
For any rugby team, the hard work starts at training. For Mid-Canterbury, the hard work is 24/7.
That's probably typical of many of the provinces around the country. There's just guys that do their day's work, earn the bread and butter, and then they go and play rugby afterwards because they love playing rugby and they love being around the boys and the environment.
Mid-Canterbury play in the Heartland Championship, which is New Zealand's premier amateur competition, featuring 12 provinces from around the country. Auckland import Murray Williams has played his fair share of first-class rugby and says representing Mid-Canterbury is a breath of fresh air.
No, I'm just enjoying footy. I enjoy coming down playing with these guys, and they play for the right reasons, and it's really enjoyable.
The team is hoping to win their 3rd straight Meads Cup this year, and captain John Dampney says the team environment has a lot to do with their success.
The boys with the right attitude. The guys, if you turn up and you're willing to put the work in, the rewards and that will come to you later on. And that's probably been our philosophy the whole time along. Like, we've got to work hard and things will happen, but we've still got to make them happen for ourselves.
In this team, though, it's about more than just rugby. It's about mateship.
So there's a great bunch of guys and we all get along. I mean, there's not one in here that we wouldn't go down the street and have a beer with and catch up with at Christmas time or anything like that. So
rugby's sort of all right, but definitely like spending a bit of time with the fellas is pretty good fun. So yeah,
I probably wouldn't play for anyone else. Just love it down here. I wouldn't live down here though.
In every team, there's always the pretty boy.
That's definitely John Dampney. nickname down here is either God or Legend. He's in the paper and in the media every single week. He's a dairy farmer, so he's a bit out of place in Auckland, but he does all right down here.
The local boys had other ideas though.
Murray, the Aucklander, I room with him and he's got like a little bag of stuff. Like, so he has a shower, which is all good. And he goes back in front of a mirror and he's got like a bag of stuff, and there's like, I don't know what it is really. My wife has less stuff than him, eh?
Of course, every player has their own nickname.
People call me Tigger. That's what my mother actually called me. There's mince pie. There's Fridge, which is a sort of rotund little creature, plays in the front row, and he's a similar width and girth as he is in height. Bono, he's got feet. Big Scott Vesey, call him Manu. I don't know why. And yeah, that's about it.
And what about the coaching staff?
The head coach, he's a grumpy little fella. Sort of don't want to piss him off too much.
We want to get better as a team, as individuals and as a team.
And then our other coach, G-Train, he's all right. He's quite good on the guitar.
So what is it that makes a Heartland rugby player?
He's just a rugby player. At the end of the day, he's prepared to work hard himself. He's probably got a bit of pride in his performance. He's ultimately prepared to work really hard for those guys around him.
So as this competition continues, so will the beating heart of New Zealand rugby. Ruben Mama, Offside.
Before we go on to our next story, there's a couple big sporting events happening over Christchurch this weekend. The New Zealand women Black Sticks team take on Argentina at Marist Park tomorrow night.
The girls are 2 from 3 in a 4-game series, and you can guarantee they won't want to draw this one. Also, you can catch the men on Friday and Sunday up against India.
And if you want to watch a bit of live footy, there's the good old Southern Derby happening between Canterbury and Southland this weekend.
Are you from Southland, Russell?
No, Barnaby, I'm from Otago. It's completely different.
Two separate places.
You know it's 2 separate places. Otago's doing bloody well at the footy at the moment, and we won by 50 points last night.
It's truth. In any case, the local Canterbury boys have secured the home semi-final. Now it's time for this week's Young Gun segment, and we start with someone who's quick off the mark. Reporter Sam Pickering rolled out to Hallswell to see one of the world's best speed skaters.
Here's our first young gun. He's quick, he's agile, and back in the year 2000, he was a bit of an artist. All jokes aside, however, this sportsman is going far.
Hi, I'm Ollie Jones, I'm 19, I'm a speed skater, and I'm this week's Young Gun for Offside.
On these skates, he can reach speeds of up to 60 kilometres an hour, and we're not talking sprint races.
I'm a distance skater, so I primarily skate distances from 10k to a marathon, 42 kilometres.
Since starting at the age of 4, he's now grown to be one of the world's best.
I got a silver at the World Championship, so that was my biggest achievement as a skater. Worlds this year, my goal is to win a gold. I want to be world champion this year.
His coach and father sees his dedication and passion.
He's a really driven kid, as you can tell himself by the training he's just done. He's able to push himself hard.
So driven, he covers roughly 200 kilometres per week in training.
At the moment, maybe 10 times a week training. Getting into some quite stuff that's hard on the heart and lungs.
I still thought I could take him on.
Go, Sammy!
I'm going, Emily! Ah!
10 more metres, I would have had him. 10 more.
Maybe another time. Sam Pickering, Offside.
Yeah, okay, Sam. Judo is a physical sport that has Canterbury athletes punching well above their weight. Ruben Mama took to the mat to see how some of the judo athletes get on.
Many athletes are throwing themselves into the judo scene around Canterbury.
There's about 3 or 4 clubs at the moment. We're lucky enough to be one of the busier and more dominant clubs in the country. At the last Nationals we managed to win the most medals, so yeah, it's good. We're very close in that community. All the clubs get on quite well, and yeah, we're all sort of looking at building towards bigger things internationally as well.
Jason Costa and Moira de Villiers are a unique couple. The pair are engaged, with Jason winning a bronze and Moira a silver at the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games.
Who's better at judo? On paper, definitely here. We both punch above our weight internationally. I clearly punch above my weight in terms of the relationship, but in terms of the judo side of things, no, we're both very, very supportive of each other, so yeah, I think we'll call it a tie.
Who's the best at judo? Is it you?
Yeah. Over Jace, absolutely. I love
basically representing New Zealand, because it's just like when you hear that anthem, it just makes everything feel amazing.
But what is judo?
The concepts behind judo are quite simple. To win the fight, you're basically trying to throw your partner on their back, hold them down for a set amount of time, or make them submit through a strangle or an armbar.
Judo is the perfect training ground for any superhero.
You get to stop bad guys, like criminals.
Jason wants to see the sport's popularity increase even more and hopes to play a big part in that in the future.
After the Olympics next year, which I will hopefully make, I am going to retire and coach full-time, and my sort of coaching plan is basically getting the numbers up.
If you could be a superhero, what's the one superpower you'd want?
Well, the best superhero is always Batman, of course, because he didn't need superpowers, he just worked hard.
Judo didn't look too hard, so I thought I'd see what all the fuss is about.
Are you ready? Right, mate. Start
It didn't even hurt. Ruben Mama, offside.
Rubes certainly wasn't punching above his weight there, mate, but like a Saturday night for the big fella.
Ooh, Rubes, he's calling you out, my man. He's called you out.
Next up, we'll move on to our good sport. Reporter Emily van Veldhoven caught up with Christchurch broadcaster Brian Ashby over a couple of brews to talk all things rugby.
What position do you think the All Blacks are sitting in at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult to judge. Looking at it on the surface, it actually looks a bit ugly, I think. You know, the error rate hasn't been flash. It's been pretty ordinary. You'd expect better, particularly at this stage in the season, not just in terms of the World Cup, but also in terms of, you know, they've been through the Rugby Championship test against Samoa and the like, and seeing the number of errors against Georgia, I thought was hugely disappointing, really. And also, you know, Dan Carter's goal kicking is a wee bit of a concern. Beauden Barrett's goal kicking is a bit of a concern, but that's been a career-long concern with Beauden Barrett. I would like to see better. But for all that, you take Steve Hansen at face value and, okay, they've got tricks up their sleeve. That's tremendous. But you want to see the basics done well. Ireland, if we face them, came close. Ryan Crotty saved the day for us a year or two ago, and I think back in 1972 we snuck out with a draw against them. They are getting better and they're well coached by Joe Schmidt. But if it is France that we face in the quarter-final, it's going to be one of those two. There is a cold, harsh reality that we've had history in World Cups against France, and it hasn't always been pretty, and that is a little bit nerve-wracking for the All Blacks. The prospect of facing those guys, and even if you go back to the last World Cup, you know, you had a French team that was in open revolt against their coach. They played poorly. They lost to Tonga in pool play. And they came within a few points of winning the World Cup. They nearly, we'd struggled to admit this, but they nearly beat the All Blacks in that final. So who would you rather have in the quarters? Maybe Ireland, but neither of them are, you know, the most nice of prospects.
North Cantabrians are taking up swords and shields in a new sport from an old era. Barnes heads along to Rangiora to check out the Siftonian battle sports.
There's a battle brewing in North Canterbury, and only one side will emerge victorious. It might not be the Horn of Gondor, but this man commands an army of local proportions.
Just turning old school war into something that's peaceful for the community, which won't hurt people.
The aim of the game is to steal a ball from the enemy's keep and return it to your own, and incorporate skills from, well, a range of sports.
Just pretty much put rugby and sword fighting together. A lot of people say capture the flag, but I'm thinking, like, it's nice to work with a ball, like sabotaging better when it's part of the game, like chess.
A historic battle of White Knights versus Black Knights. Founder of Siftonian Battle Sports, Leon Chambers, has a dream the sport will take off in Canterbury.
Imagine going after a Crusader game, giving all the kids a paper sword and a water bomb to throw.
Locals from all over North Canterbury are getting involved, and this guy may know why.
It's like when the All Blacks win a Rugby World Cup final, everyone gets hyped up, heat of battle, same feeling. You just get right in there.
With the teams tied up, it was up to the captains to claim victory.
For everyone.
Golden glory!
No way! In the face, guys. In the face is a penalty.
Hey, look, a trebuchet. As I stood there, being taught to kill, there was still one burning question on my mind.
Who would win in a fight between Aragorn and Achilles?
I'll say Achilles maybe, but depends who was backing Aragorn, eh?
Victory and eternal glory for the White Knights. Barnaby Clark, Offside.
Alrighty, Barnes, your own question back at you. Who would you pick in a fight between Aragorn and Achilles?
Oh, it'd have to be Aragorn, mate. The man's a legend. You know, he's a Dunedain, so he lives longer than the average man. So it's a hell of a lot of life experience on his side. Swings the double-handed sword, mate. Aragorn for sure, no doubt.
But what about the differences between swords?
Oh, well, look, in my experience, I've been in a few sword fights in my time, so what I've learned is size doesn't actually matter, Russell.
Preach.
Now on to the subject of balls. How hard can it be to catch a rugby one? Reporter Emily van Velthoven discovers it's harder than it looks.
We think we're the best in the world when it comes to rugby, and over the weekend, us Cantabrians put ourselves to the test.
Well, with the Rugby World Cup on, it just seemed like a good and reasonably achievable sort of record, we thought.
Through an online poll, Christchurch came out on top with the most rugby enthusiasts.
If we get this, it'll be, I think, some slither of a consolation if we don't win the World Cup.
A crowd of 198 people gathered at Hagley Park, signing up to break the Guinness World Record for the most consecutive rugby ball passes in a row, apart from this guy who didn't get the memo. Setting up the field correctly was all a part of the attempt to beat the Welsh.
The current record is 279, so we have to get more than that. People have to be spaced 5 metres apart, so it's been a mammoth effort measuring out all the spaces for everyone.
These guys took time out from their dance-off to explain what it would mean if Cantabs cracked a new record.
We're New Zealand, we should hold that record, especially for rugby passes. You know, if there's anything else, then maybe not, but rugby passes should be ours.
Kick-off started at noon, and with only 3 attempts allowed, the pressure was on. All the big media organisations were there amongst the action. But it didn't take long till participants used all 3 attempts and dropped their balls for the last time on their 164th pass.
I think the wind played a big part, and skill. Lack of skill, bit of wind.
We may not have beaten the record, but the Rugby World Cup is still up for grabs. Besides, it isn't about us, it's about the boys in black over in England.
Got it, 4 million behind you, bring it home for us.
Just want to say, boys, best of luck for the tournament. We know what it's like to fail here today at Hagley Park, so we don't want you guys to feel that. But rooting for you back here in New Zealand.
Got it, it's ours.
Bring it home, boys. We're backing you.
Yeah.
Emily van Velthoven, Offside.
Clay target shooting is a sport that flies under the radar. But when using guns and smashing things, what's not to like? I went down to check it all out.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Right. Okay, thanks, Gavin. Gunfire echoes throughout the air. But don't worry, this isn't the start of World War III, but merely a clay target meet at the Christchurch Clay Target Club. The aim of the game is rather simple.
Clay target shooting is a shotgun discipline. It involves moving targets thrown through the air and to be shot at.
Each shooter gets 25 clay targets. The shooter who hits the most targets moves on to the next round. Easy, right? But be warned, while the pros make it seem easy, there are a few key skills involved.
Hand-eye coordination is probably the first thing that's reasonably important. Concentration levels, those sorts of things.
And what requirements do you need to shoot? Well, it turns out not a lot really.
And basically from the time you can hold a gun until the time you can't hold a gun, you can do this sport, you can do it for enjoyment, you can do it competitively.
And women, don't worry, playing with big guns isn't just a man's sport. New Zealand clay target shooter and Rio Olympic hopeful Natalie Rooney is evidence of this.
My first time I represented New Zealand was at the World Champs in 2006, I think, when I went to the World DTL Champs in Australia.
And on top of that, Rio Olympics in 2016 looks likely. So, if you feel like shooting stuff and watching clay targets explode, get down and give it a go. Russell Maloney, Offside.
If you live out West Melton Way, you might be familiar with the dust and roar of motocross racing, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, stay tuned.
Just off the old West Coast Road, down what seems a quiet rural lane, you'll find anything but. This is King of Canterbury motocross racing.
We've got 60 riders here for the 2 days.
Yeah, and that's from 4 years old through to under 17s.
These South Island boys and girls are vying for a chance to top the podium as they drift, drag and jump. What's so great about this sport, you ask?
Just the camaraderie with the kids, you know, they all get on, they battle each other and thing, but you see them, they always hang out on the pitch together, always getting on. It's a very family-orientated sport with brothers and sisters or mums and dads racing.
Hanging out with friends and trying my best and hanging with family sport.
For all those nervous to give it a go, there's help standing by, but injuries aren't as common as most think.
So the numbers at Ride Motocross, it's actually for ACC levels, it's actually not that high.
The Christchurch Off-Road Motorcycle Club boasts around 300 members, with emerging talent of all ages.
My best result is first in New Zealand. I was pretty happy when I did it. Trying to get first and get number 1 NZ at the Nationals next year.
And as for those pesky North Island riders,
overall they'll always have bigger numbers, so they'll get higher success, but for the amount of numbers we have, we probably, you know, typical bat above our weight.
If anyone wants to give it a go, here's what to do.
We've got a Facebook page, you know, Christchurch Off-Road Motorcycle Club Facebook page. That's probably the best one to go through.
Barnaby Clark, Offside.
Now to Can You Quoits. Each week, a different athlete from around Canterbury will take up our challenge.
First up, Keisha Grant. She's good at netball, she's represented New Zealand in rugby and athletics, but can she quoits? Kirsty Stanway puts her to the test.
Hey, we're down here at the High Performance Training Centre. We're going to surprise Keisha Grant, ex-tactic netball player and all-round good sort. She's going to be our first challenger on Can You Quoits. This way, she's just down here. Hey, Keisha. How you doing? Hi. Kirsty from Offside, nice to meet you. We're here to challenge you to our Can You Quoits. You up for the challenge? Yeah. Cool, let's go. Now Keisha, have you played quoits before?
No, never played this before.
Do you consider yourself a bit of a tosser?
I would say no.
Now, do you think any skills from netball or the other sports you've played will translate to quoits?
I'm hoping. I don't know if my height helps, but let's hope the accuracy does.
Yep. And just before we get started, sports was always about the numbers. So how many, you've got 8 rings, how many do you think you'll get in out of 8?
Well, I hope to get over 50%, so I'm going for maybe 5. I'm Keisha Grant and I just scored 4 on Can You Quoits. Richie Moanga, you're up next.
Well, netball versus rugby at Can You Quoits. We haven't actually asked him yet, but hopefully Richie Moanga will take up next week's challenge.
That's all on you, Richie, mate. Anyway, also coming up next week, we're checking out 2 young trampolinists preparing themselves for the World Champs.
For updates during the week and some hilariously good outtakes, visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Offside New Zealand.
Before we go, best of luck to all Canterbury athletes taking the field this weekend, and also thanks to the Addington Raceway for having us here today.
Now, Cup and Show Week's coming up, so get along to addington.co.nz for more details. Now, the smell's getting a bit fresh in the stables there, Rusty, so we better take off.
Yeah, sorry about that, Barnes. On that note,
good night.